live. So in just the last 4 days, 2 examples of why you have to be better than SBA and why SBA, we're begging you got to do better for your constituents. If you haven't figured it out yet, you're dealing with small business owners, many of whom they don't interact very often, if ever, with federal agencies, except maybe, filing a tax return, filing an annual report with the Secretary of State, and now with FinCEN, beneficial ownership information report, which is all of these things are simple and you can do them yourself. When a business owner has to interact with the SBA, the simplest tweaks that SBA can make would make these business owners, your constituents' lives easier. And Linda Ray has been saying this for years. For you folks who are applying for disaster loans, for you folks who are dealing with the Small Business Administration about your COVID-19 EIDLs and different aspects of your business operations, from changing ownership to requesting hardship accommodation, closing your business, selling your business, getting a line of credit, whatever interaction that you have to deal with the SBA, you have to be better than the SBA. In my world, as a retired mortgage banking loan officer and as someone who processed thousands of documents, hundreds of loans with the SBA during the pandemic and dozens of business operations for clients after the pandemic, I call that preparation. What's that old phrase? Prepare to plan or prepare to succeed. Failure to prepare is, I'm not really good with these types of expressions. I'm really good at reading an amortization statement. I can even spell amortization. But here's 2 examples in just the last 4 days. First, we have a client who we assisted them last year to have their loan recalled from U.S. Treasury, from collections at U.S. Treasury, and that whole mess. And we've got a whole slew of videos we did about that. I'm not going to bore you with it, but we helped this client to get his business's loan returned from collections using the Hardship Accommodation program, which allows a COVID-19 EIDL borrower to receive temporary relief, lower payments for 6-month periods with a total of 5 cumulative 6-month periods. He was approved and has been making his payments. He reached out to us for assistance with getting that program extended for the second 6-month period. Now, if you remember on the SBA application, when you applied for the COVID-19 EIDL, it was pretty clear that if you were an owner of 20% ownership interest or greater, your information was required to be on the application. And owners with less than a 20% ownership interest were not involved in the application process. This is one of the few things SBA gets right, because typically owners with less than 20% interest don't have a controlling interest in the business. They can't talk about operations and marketing and tell the owner, tell the business how to run the business, things like that. Well, this client submitted our email template to request extension of the Hardship Accommodation program. We got the application form back. We assisted the client to fill out and sign the application. And on the application, you have to put down all of the owners. Fortunately, in this case, there were only 2 owners. There's our client with a 99% interest, and there's another client whose name begins with the letter R. So we'll just call that person R for the purpose of this video. R owns 1% interest in the business, which means R was not on the initial application and is not on the loan and is not guaranteeing the loan or any of those things. So we put that information on the application, 99% for our client, 1% ownership for R. Our client signs the form. It gets submitted to the SBA. He gets an email from a loan specialist at SBA who says that R must also sign the application. 2 reasons why this makes no sense. Number 1, R was not involved with the loan from the beginning and has, probably no knowledge of it. So now this opens up a whole issue with the owners having to communicate about operational issues, which most of the time for minority business owners, people with less than 20% interest, they don't really need to be kept up to date with these kind of details of the running the business. But the second issue is, what if there were 300 people who cumulatively owned little tiny slices of the pie and cumulatively owned 19.7% of the business? None of the 300 people owned 20% or greater, but they all owned little slices that all together added up to 19.7% ownership, which is still less than 20%. Would the SBA's loan specialist then require all 300 people's names to be on the application and to sign? Because based upon what this loan specialist asked for, sounds like that would be the case. We haven't seen it yet. If you have experienced this type type of situation with your business, we would welcome your comments to get that feedback and hear what your experience was. And I say 300 with 19.7% because we had a client during the pandemic. It was a brewery that had two owners who cumulatively together owned 81% or 80.3% of the business, but they had something like 300 investors, owners, who cumulatively owned 19.7%. So that's the first issue. Here's the second issue, where SBA, you have to do better. Just today, one of our clients received an email from the COVID Servicing Center with the application for Hardship Accommodation Program. This owner, this person, owns 7 restaurants. Most of those restaurants have COVID loans below $200,000, and so we have previously gotten him approved for hardship directly on the MySBA portal. But 3 of those businesses have loans in excess of $200,000, and therefore to apply for hardship accommodation, which we assisted with previously with this owner, or the extension, which is what we helped him with this week, you have to do that through email, through the COVID Servicing Center. So yesterday we had the client submit our template for requesting extension for the hardship accommodation program. At the same time, we prepared the application for extension, sent it to the client for a secure electronic signature, requested a year-to-date profit and loss statement. Since it's January of 2025, we asked for a 12-month profit and loss statement for January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. It's very important you have a specific date range on your profit and loss statement, by the way. Very important. We've seen SBA agents kick them back when it's not a specific date range. Well, he gets today the the email from SBA COVID Servicing Center with the blank application. That's our cue that someone is working on the file. So we want to submit the signed application and the profit and loss statement as quickly as possible. But there's a problem. The client submitted 3 requests for hardship accommodation program extension. 3 different business entities, 3 different business loan numbers, SBA loan numbers. Do you think that SBA responded with a reference to which loan number, thus which business entity they were talking about? No, they did not. The email comes back with that internal coding that they put on their emails, a string of numbers that we don't know what it means. It's internal, but there's no way of referencing that, of knowing which of the business entities that's referencing. So now what we have to do is wait until he gets emails on the other 2 business entities with the blank applications before we can submit any. SBA, you got to do better. I know this is going to sound nuts to the SBA, but I have offered this before, that Linda Ray and I would be happy on contract as consultants to come to the SBA and assist you to fix and tweak all these little things that make us out here in the real world, small business owners and CPAs and attorneys who help their clients and consultants like us who help clients, all those things that make us not these simple little things. Not the least of which is, I said I was only going to say 2, but here's the third thing. SBA emails are still going to the spam folder. This is crazy. You know why SBA emails go to the spam folder? Because the security certificates are outdated, antiquated, expired. I am subscribed to multiple SBA emails from local regional offices here in Connecticut, New England, New York area. That's one of the ways I keep up to date with the SBA. Every single one of their emails goes into my spam folder. And no matter what I've done, whitelisting it or adding it to the safe senders list, telling my email program not junk, doesn't work. The SBA emails go to spam. And, when I looked back at the end of the program in 2022 for the reasons why some people didn't get approved, the primary reason was the IRS tax return and the transcripts, whether people filed late, filed differently, or the IRS request for form was filled out incorrectly. But one of the other reasons I identified as why some people might not have been approved or were approved but never received the funding is because they didn't check their spam folders aggressively and actively to look, as we told our clients to do, and most of them listened to us, but some did not. And you can be sure that SBA emails were being put into the spam folder. SBA, you got to do better. I'm here in Connecticut. I'm signed up for a couple of different state of Connecticut information emails, whether it's newsletters or notifications on different things with ct.gov. Every one of those emails goes to my regular same email address that I'm using with the SBA, and I get all of the state of Connecticut's emails. I'm not sure why the federal government can't get its information technology, its IT act together. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm so sorry. You know what, SBA, it's not your fault. It's not. Think of it like this, SBA. It's one of those moments like in the movie Good Will Hunting. You know, when Robin Williams, in the therapy session, he says to Will, he says, "It's not your fault, son. It's not your fault, Will. It's not your fault." SBA, I apologize for these complaints that I have presented to you and to our audience today. It's not your fault. It's the fault of Congress, because the Congress treats the U.S. Small Business Administration, and by extension, you small business owners, 30 million of you are the constituents, as per Isabella Casillas Guzman, the outgoing administrator of the SBA. She said 30 million small businesses are the constituents. The Congress treats all of you by treating the SBA like, I have a lot of really nasty things to come to mind to describe how the Congress treats you. Let's just say that they do not support the Small Business Administration with the requisite attention and care and funding that this agency needs. You see, if the SBA had better funding, those information technology systems would probably be as up to date as we have here in the state of Connecticut and elsewhere in the United States. You know, like the IRS. Just saying. And if you as a small business owner are not sending letters and emails and phone calls to your congressperson to demand that they do a better job of supporting the Small Business Administration and by extension supporting you, the small business owner, you don't care about your business as much as you think you do. Because if you got assistance during the pandemic with a COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan or a paycheck protection program loan or other pandemic funding that was voted on by Congress and administered by the Small Business Administration. You know, remember shuttered venue grants, restaurant relief fund grants? If you got that assistance that helped your business weather the storm, as it will. I'm doing a lot of quotation marks on air today. I'm not really sure why. If your business survived due to that funding, then you owe it to yourself and your business to be in touch with your congressperson and demand that they do a better job of supporting you and supporting the Small Business Administration. And yes, I'm saying that today in January 2025 with the current political performative climate that we find ourselves living through. If you found this video helpful, we would ask you to share it with other business owners who might need it. If you're in a disaster area, watch the video. Share it with people in disaster areas. If you are a subscriber, we truly appreciate you. We have over 10,000 subscribers on our channel. If you are not a subscriber, you may be surprised to learn that more than 70% of the folks who watch our videos are not subscribers. So if you could take a moment to subscribe, if you found value in my ranting and raving today, if you learned something useful, and maybe like the video too. Tell YouTube that there's value with the video, because then our videos will go to a wider audience. If you need assistance with the COVID-19 EIDL program for your business or with a disaster loan, click on the link in the description. We have our resource hub to assist you with the information culled from my brain as a loan officer to help you be successful with the SBA. Have a great day.